Hi, thanks for having me in your home. The company has asked me to try out a new program, and so, with your permission, I'd like to use it with you. And that is, they've given me some things that they want me to say to ensure that we tell you everything necessary so that you fully understand what you're being offered, what you have a chance to participate in. So, here we go. First, I want to let you know that I'm glad I made it here today because I'm the one in this area that takes care of the unions. So, explaining all of their benefits and doing all that with police and fire and all the assorted unions that are here, a lot of them, by the way. So, I have all these appointments to make, and I'm just glad I made it here. So, um, the benefits that you currently have, are they with a company or are they with just the union, or how does that work for you? Okay. Well, you know that when you retire or you leave the company, that those benefits end within 31 days of you leaving that business, right? Okay, good. You understand. All right. Well, the thing that we need to do next is we need to talk about who referred you. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Did they call you at all and ask you about this, or tell you about this, or explain how this might benefit you? Did they give you any information at all? Okay. Well, let me back up a little bit then, and I'll explain that to you. I'm here for two reasons. One, we're going to deliver your pre-qualified benefits, and the second is, and the most important reason, is I'm here to see if you can qualify for permanent benefits, just like all the union members have, and a lot of people who work for companies for a very long time. These benefits aren't normally available, so it would behoove you to take a look at these. And this is a one-time open enrollment period, so we'll take a look at these and see if you can qualify. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right, well, first I want to explain your accidental death and dismemberment benefits. And as a non-union member, that benefit for you is $2,000. And what I want you to do is take this piece of paper that's got the benefit on it. I want you to fill out one side and I'll then fill out the other. So once that is done, then we'll go on to the next benefit. And I think you're really going to like this next benefit. The next benefit that I want to show you is a discount card. Now, the discount card is pretty unique in that it's the same thing that the union benefits have, but it includes all of the things like eye care, the hearing plan, prescription plan, chiropractic plan. Now, this is not health insurance. I want you to understand that. But this is something that if you like this and you want to use this and it'll work with the providers you use, then what I want to have you do is fill out this form that's contained on the inside of this. And if you'll just submit that form and fill it in, within a couple of weeks, what they will send you is a card that looks like, if I can hold this up, looks exactly like that. So that'll give you a big discount, and discounts are important. My wife and I never buy anything retail, so I absolutely believe in discounts. So that's another benefit that you get, and these are pre-qualified benefits. So this comes to you no charge, and it's not health insurance, but it is something that will reduce your monthly costs. So that's a benefit. So the thing that we want to talk about after that is we want to go into child safety kits. Now, there's been a lot of talk about child safety, and the police union is the one who's really pushing this. And frankly, I don't blame them. As a father of 6 myself, I think it's important. And you have how many children? Okay, we'll get one of these to you for each one of the children. But essentially, if a child gets kidnapped, the thing that they want to do is get right on it. They found out that if they don't get these children back, 93% of them can be gone in a short period of time and never found alive. So we want to give them all the benefits that we can. So this kit talks about some of the things that you can do relative to parenting. It also has a black strip in here. Use this to take the child's fingerprints and put those fingerprints right in here where it's explained. Then you want to describe your child, and if there's any special marks, birthmarks, or something like that, and then you want to collect a sample of their hair and include a picture. Now, when you do all that, then essentially if your child goes missing, you simply call the police department and say, I have a safe ID kit for kids, and I have one for this child, and I need to get it into your hands as quickly as possible. How do I do that? And then that will help them get started right away. Are you familiar with what an Amber Alert is? Well, an Amber Alert is simply something that they put out. Actually, they put it out over cell phones now if you subscribe to the alert. And they do it on freeway signs. You can see that in a number of places, radio stations and so forth. So if a child goes missing, they put out what information they know was taken by a 6'4" person approximately, medium build, and they saw a red van or whatever it was, whatever information they can go on, and essentially to try and help the crowd, those of us out here, to try and help find your child. So it becomes really, really important. This is a great benefit. So we'll get one of those in your hands for each one of the kids. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is a family information guide. You know, do you have a will? Okay. A lot of people don't. Personally, I didn't have one until I was a little later in life. But wills are important. And having gone through my experiences of the last few years with the number of people passing in my family, I can tell you that wills are really, really important. Without them, frankly, it's a mess. So this family information guide is a good way to start out. So first we get vital statistics and historical data. So name, address, telephone, all that kind of stuff. And then we get veterans information. Are you a veteran? Well, I am. So if you're a veteran, then you can put that information there. And then spouse vital statistics and historical data, that all goes in there. And then persons to be notified. Now, this is really important. And I'd like to know, how many persons do you have in your life that you can notify right here in Las Vegas? Okay. Well, you need to put those people down, and we'll talk some more about those people a little later. So the last will and testament, you want to explain what you have there, and then you go into asset information. So do you have hotels or apartments or whatever it is that you own? You want to put that information down so that in the event of your passing, the next person in line knows exactly what to do and where to find the information for this. Very important. And then financial institutions, do you have a checking account? Okay. Savings account? Okay. Then what you want to do with that is fill that information in here, and then immediately upon you passing, someone can go to that account and get money out if they need to. And then safe deposit box, if you have one of those, they need to know where the key is and how to access it, and so that's really important. And then finally, the funeral request. I'm going to ask you a bit of a question here. First of all, do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? This is something that's very personal and something that oftentimes people decide one way and then they decide another way, which is fine. But how do you want to handle that? What's important to you? So that information would go right here. Now, it's not a will, but if you have this notarized, it will go a long way towards helping those that are left after your passing to understand what needs to be done and where to go and so on and so forth. So that also comes to you as a pre-qualified benefit. So those are pretty good, I think. So you have now a total of 4 pre-qualified benefits, and that you have the accidental death and dismemberment policy. Anytime you have an accident and somebody dies or they're dismembered, that policy kicks in and there's no payment on that policy. American Income, we pay everything associated with that. And we do it as part of our agreement with the unions, and that's what we like to do. It really helps people out. So you'll fill that out, you'll have that policy within a few weeks. So the second thing is that you get that child safety kit. Those are very, very important. And the next thing that you'll get is the card, the discount card. We talked about that. And the fourth thing is the family's financial information and all the things that you need to know about the information. Essentially a guide. So we'll do that. Now, let's talk about sponsorships for a minute. These are great benefits, and a lot of people would like to have these. So I want to ask you guys, since you're a member in good standing, are there some people that you could sponsor to get these benefits? Now, there's some pre-qualifications. Number one, they have to be 21 or older and living outside the home. And 2, they must be in the local area and employed. And 3, they can't be in trouble with the law because the police sponsor this whole program. So we want to make sure that that's not the case. So let's begin with that. Let me just ask you, where does your dad and mom live? Okay, they're around here. And let me collect that information from you and a phone number. If you were in trouble, who else would you call? What other friends do you have? Church friends, local friends, people that you play sports with. What are their names? Okay, so Bob and Betty. Okay, and here they are. Do they have children as well? All right. Then let's go with that, and let me put their name down, and then we'll put another's name down as soon as we finish with that. And usually people have 5 to 7 different people that they rely on. So who are those other people? So let's record their names and get that included in your list of people that you want to sponsor. It's very important that those you sponsor know who I am. So what I want to do now is I want to send you a text. Which one of you texts in the family? In my family, it's probably my wife. She does more than I do. But do you text, or you? Which one is it? Okay, you. Then here's what I want to do. I'm going to send you a text directly to your phone number. So if you'll give me your phone number, okay, and I'll send this to you, and you should receive it in a second. Okay. Now that text explains exactly who I am so that they don't go, well, what is this all about? So it's a bit of information. It'll help them and it'll help you. So could you send that on? You want to send a group text? Go ahead and send that on right now and let them receive that. They'll know who I am. And then when I have a chance, I'm going to give them a call over the next couple of days and set up an appointment and tell them that you have sponsored them for these tremendous pre-qualified benefits. Okay. Now the other benefits are harder to get, and you may or may not qualify, but I think that we could get into some of the things that are required associated with that. So first of all, let me ask you these questions. Have you ever had any arrests or DUIs? Either one of you? Do you use tobacco or marijuana? Do you take any prescription medications? Okay, which ones do you take? Excellent. All right, that's not a problem. Have you ever had any health issues in your lifetime? So heart attacks, some condition where you spent a lot of time in the hospital or something like that. All right. Do you have any health conditions run in your family? Heart attacks, cancer, leukemia, some of the things that we just hate. They're really hard on society. Any of those things plaguing your family, okay? All right, well, that's at least enough for you to go ahead and go on, because I think that'll work. There doesn't seem to be anything in there that's going to be a huge problem. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some questions, and you do have a chance to get in here, and I think you should probably at least explore it. So that's what we're going to do. So let me ask you a few questions. First of all, what is your full name and your date of birth for each of you? Then I want to ask, how much do you make a month? Do you and you make per month? Okay. Do you own this home? Okay, good to know. How much is your remaining mortgage balance? All right. And how many years are left on it? Okay. So, as you can see from the sheet that we have right here, most of the union people take between $20 and $120 and separate it, set it out for a week. Now here's how they do it. It's called the 1 hour of power. Most of us don't think in terms of what 1 hour can accomplish, but let me just share this with you. Based on what you're telling me, you make how much per hour? And you make how much? Okay, so now we're looking at collectively $50 an hour. That's great, that's good money. So $50 an hour. If you were missing 1 hour per week, would that make a difference? I mean, would you lose your house or your car or anything substantial because you missed 1 hour per week? Most people don't. And that's why the union teaches that when we're young, we need to set this up now. We need to get going right now and get it set up in our lives so that if nothing else, when we walk out of the door on Monday morning to go to work, a little peace of mind. That part's taken care of. So with that in mind, so we'll show $50 an hour. I'll circle that here. And then let's start talking about some of those benefits. So in order to do that, we need to start you, and I'm going to ask you, first of all, have either of you ever had to plan a funeral? Oh my gosh, I hope that neither of you do. We have a plan called Freedom of Choice. And freedom of choice is very, very simple. The funerals that I've had to plan, and you know, it's the funeral business. You'll walk in and you tell them the story, and they all will listen to your story. And you'll want to tell it because it's fresh, because it's hurtful, because it's right there. When you finish telling that, they say, I'm sorry for your loss. And then they say, how do you intend to pay for this? Well, there's 3 ways that you can pay for it. First of all, you can set up a plan with some funeral home over time. Most people don't do that because they go out of business. The other thing that you can do is just pay it. If you have the money, or if you don't, you pool the family resources, extended family, and you pay for it that way. Or the third way is if you have this, the freedom of choice. Now, here's what the freedom of choice allows you to do. When that funeral director says to you, I'm sorry for your loss, how do you anticipate covering this expense today? Because if you walk out of there, they're not going to do anything for you. Now, that's unfortunate and it's blunt, but I'm going to tell you it's the absolute truth. So the next question is, how are you going to pay for it? Well, with the freedom of choice, all you have to do is hand this to them. Any funeral home in the United States. There you go. Hand it to them and it's done. You'll fill out the assignment on the back. And then that pays for the funeral expense. And I'll get into a little later how much that covers and how that's paid out. But that's a pretty good benefit. Does that make sense to you? Isn't this a whole lot easier than what you have to go through? I can tell you, I so wish that I had had one of these at the time that we've experienced so much loss. I just lost my brother here not long ago, and it would have been very handy for my niece and her husband as they tried to take care of my brother. So it's one of those things that people should do. So that freedom of choice typically can go $30,000, sometimes less, $30,000 for each of you, and $10,000 per child. That's pretty substantial. You can do a lot with that. I can tell you that in one particular case, when we buried my dad, and I say my dad, he's really the only dad I had as an adult because my own father died very young. So was my father-in-law. And he died at 92, and all of his friends were gone, and he was such a conservative guy. He just said, look, I just want to be buried simply, very simply. So we bought a wood box. We did no service. We put all that together. And the big thing they did is because he was a World War II hero, they gave him a 21-gun salute and allowed my wife to keep the shells. But that was it. And that whole process cost us almost $9,000 just for that. That's not much. Not much for a lot of money. So these are very, very important, and I think you're gonna see how much importance it places in your life. And you know what? How much freedom it gives you because you don't have to worry about all that going on. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is income protection. So let's say one of you dies tomorrow in a car accident or have a heart attack or whatever. Do your paychecks keep coming? Do you have that kind of an arrangement with your employer? No? Okay. So if, and we're just supposing here, if Bob, you die, and Betty, you and the kids are left, what happens to Bob's paycheck? It goes away, right? Well, we have an income protection plan that can protect you for up to a year with exactly what he makes. So he's making $4,000 a month. That's $4,000 a month that's going to come to you. Now, a year is going to really help you turn things around because it's that first year after someone passes, particularly in a family setting, that is so incredibly hard on everybody. It's just hard on the kids, on the wife, everybody, because you now have to be both a father and a mother, and that's a challenge. Now, here's something unique. If, Betty, you were to pass, then, Bob, you've got the challenge of trying to be the workaday father and trying to be a mom and trying to run the household and clean the house and do all this kind of stuff. And with that income protection, we can protect the money that she makes so that you would receive her paycheck every 2 weeks or month or whatever it is. That's a pretty good level of protection. That's a safety net that's really worth having. And then the next thing is debt. I wish I could say none of us ever get into debt, but believe me when I tell you we do. And all of us need to have a little protection. Well, we have debt protection as well. And that debt protection comes in the amount of $200,000. Most young people I know aren't running up a $200,000 debt. So when you receive that portion, that benefit, then whatever it takes to pay off your debt, get down to zero. So all you're paying is just the water and the gas and so forth. You pay the house off if you can. You do whatever you can with that $200,000, and then now you're free. Now it's so much easier to accomplish the things that you need to do. So that's $200,000 in debt protection. Okay. Now, those people who enroll in this program, we find that every once in a while somebody runs into a little speed bump and they wind up needing some extra funds because they just need them. They're in financial peril and they need some help. This policy allows you to, after 3 years, to come to the company and say, I've got to have some help. Here's my circumstance and I need some help. And those policy premiums for a period of time will be paid for you. And that period of time depends on which program you get and so on and so on and so on. But the point is, it'll be taken care of for a period of time. That is really helpful. Do you think that's helpful to you? I think so. I think so. So the next thing that we want to talk about is the benefits that a lot of people don't ever think about that are very, very important. One is terminal illness. I had my sister die of cancer. That she just barely missed 60, but she fought cancer for so many years, and it was a great thing to be able to do something for her. And her husband were very smart. They had what's called a terminal illness rider. We have that associated with this as well. So the way that works is if the doctor surprises you and says, guess what, you have 12 months to live, you're going to need some cash. There's going to be some issues going on, and you're going to need some cash. We will give you 50% of the value of your policy up front. And then on your passing, the family receives the other 50%. So that means it's easier to take care of those problems that you're going to have when an illness arises like that. So the next thing we have is strike and layoff protection. In the case of strike, you're covered for 12 months. Well, if your company doesn't go on strike, you're laid off, you're covered for 3 months. And what does that mean? It means all your policy payments are taken care of for that period of time. So we're doing everything we can to help you be able to complete this program and be able to take advantage of everything you can, every benefit you can, so that you have the right kind of peace of mind. So those are the union benefits, and those benefits normally come as a payroll deduction. However, what we do is we have you fill out a little slip, and we'll take it right out of your checking account. The advantage is, of course, you're in control, not your employer. It's your business, not your employer's business, and so on and so on and so on. So we'll do that, and we think it just makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, good. And then we want you to understand that as you do this while you're young, that there's some benefits for you that we think you should take into consideration. And that is that you get this program, and it's relatively inexpensive. Remember we talked about 1 hour. It's the power of 1 hour. As long as you're taking the value of 1 hour's worth of work and doing all of this to protect your family, you'll be in good shape. You'll make it. It's proven by all the members that we have that this is something that will absolutely be a lifesaver for you in the event that you have to have that. So what I need to do now is I need to check with you to see if this is affordable. And I want to read to you exactly what the company wants me to ask because it's that important. So now that we've completed most of your application, we know that you're pre-qualified. This means that they still need to call your doctor and check your medical records, your DMV records. But as long as all that checks out, you guys will be approved. So initially you said that the gold benefit was what you wanted and that the program costs were $40. And we said 40 times 4, so we're looking at $160 a month. This is a great program, but I wanted to double check and make sure that you guys are comfortable with that. The most important thing for you to decide now is which program is the most comfortable to be starting with. So with that in mind, we want to ask you, is that work for you? Is that amount work for you? Remember, you can always upgrade later as long as you qualify today, because another benefit we didn't discuss is that you have guaranteed insurability. That doesn't sound like much of a benefit, but let me tell you how that works. Let's say that for some reason, 10 years from now, something happens. You contract diabetes, you get cancer, you get whatever, and you want to upgrade this policy. You have guaranteed insurability. That means that we will upgrade it. As long as you pay the additional premium, we will upgrade it. That's important. So you can always do that. So you want to then stick with the gold program, or would you like me to show you a smaller program to start with? Okay, great. And we'll go ahead and go with the gold program and get that set up for you. And I need to ask you some questions associated with that. So if you make sure that we've got some room here, let's go ahead and ask those questions and get that down into our survey. Make sure it works for you. All right. Thank you very much.